Hello folks, hope you're doing well. It's time to get the chilies moving again. So we're going to have a look at the different chilies, why we know they need moving on, how I'm going to do it right towards the end there. Make sure you watch towards the end because we've got some different feeds I'm going to start giving them and a different watering technique and things like that. Anyway, how do I know these little plants need moving on? So let's have a quick look. Let me just show you them all first of all. So right on the right hand side here, these ones are the Hungarian hot wax. In the middle here, we've got the Kashmiris, and on the left here, we've got the Carolina Reapers. So let's just pop it out of the gravel tray there, and we'll have a quick look at two things in particular. First one, you might be able to see this one here, you're just starting to get some yellowing on the leaves there, just at the edge, and that tells me that this cell is starting to run out of nutrition, so it needs some more compost going in there. And if we have a look on the bottom, hopefully you can see some of these ones here, around here in the middle, I'm starting to see the roots coming out of the bottom of the cells, so I know that the plant is starting to again outgrow the size of the cell, so it needs to go into a bigger pot. I do have some bigger cell trays, but I think given the size of these and the time of year it is, I'm going to pot them on into their own individual pots. So what we'll do is we'll get set up in here in the little potting area. I'll take you through what I'm going to do with these, and we'll have a look at that feeding and watering thing later on. Back with you in just a jiffy. Right, so here we are, all set up in the shed. Hopefully you can kind of see a little bit of me, but again, when I always do these videos in here, it's more important that you sort of see what's going on here rather than my head. So one thing to mention first off is at the moment in this tray I've got 19 chili plants. Now I don't need 19 chili plants, and there's going to become a bit of an issue with space as well as time goes on through the spring. So I'm moving these out of these cell trays into these little pots here, and these little pots are about 3.5 inches across and 3 inches deep. And then eventually they'll move into these bigger sort of black coloured pots there that are much bigger. And when you're doing that with cucumbers, tomatoes, sweet peppers, melons, aubergines, other things like that I need to keep inside, manage the temperature for quite a while yet before they go outside into the polytunnel, some of these chili plants are either going to have to find a new home locally, or they're going to go to the big compost bin in the sky. And again, it sounds quite sad putting them in the compost bin, but as always, I always grow more than I actually need, and that is because if any of them fail or anything goes wrong with the germination or anything like that, you've always got a few spares. But I will try and find them new homes first with other people before they go in the compost bin. So I'm actually going to take 3 of each and pot them on, and they're all going to be done the same way. So the compost we've got here, again, is the Melcourt Silver Grow, and I'm just going to pop, I don't know what, about half a handful in the bottom of the pot there, so hopefully you can sort of just about see how much is in. Sure, the light's probably not the best in here, and we'll take one of these ones and we'll just pop it out from the bottom. That's one of the great things about these container-wise cell trays, is it's dead easy to get your finger in the bottom and pop it out. They're absolutely brilliant for that, and hopefully you can see the lovely beautiful root system there. And that's what I was talking about. These were just starting to poke out of the bottom of the cell tray, so you know they're ready to be moving on now. It's been a couple of days again since I gave these some water, and I want them almost to be, I don't want them to be dry, but I don't want them to be soaking wet when you move them onto in a pot, because it makes it a little bit difficult. And as always when we're doing this, the aim is to try and get your new compost up to just about the first set of leaves there. So I'm going to try and come up all this bit of stalk here up to just below that first set of leaves just there. So that's why I've only put that little sort of half handful of compost in the bottom. And sometimes it's a bit of trial and error like it is there, so I'm just going to shake around about half of that out, and I think that's about right. And we'll pile some of that compost up, and I find if you put it on the top and then you just give it a little bit of a shake and then press it down a little bit, and we'll pop a little bit more in the top there. Again, when I'm sort of compressing this compost, I'm not like, really sort of gripping it and pushing it down. It's just ever so lightly sort of compressing it and making sure the leaves there aren't all covered in compost as well. Try and keep the leaves nice and clean. And I'm going to come up to near enough the top of the pot. We'll just knock a little bit out there. I don't want it right up to the very top, and I'll come to why not in just a moment there. But what I'm going to do, so all of these, well, 9 of them anyway, we'll get them potted on. And what I need to remember to do, now that they're going into their individual pots, I've written out a label, so they're obviously all going to need their own individual labels, and it's important to remember which one's what. So there we are. That's been moved on into a pot there that's about 3.5 inches wide, 3 inches deep. It's just plain compost. There's no perlite in there. If you see any little bits of perlite in the mix there, that's just from old mix that's been used in this big sort of green tidy tray sort of thing here. What I'll do is I'll get the rest of these potted on. I'll come back to you in a few minutes there and we'll have a wee chat about a few other things to do with these chilies. So back with you in just a jiffy. Right, so that's all the chilies potted on there, and I've not put them in here yet. So this is a gravel tray, and I use these to have all the plants in them pretty much, including the cell trays, so the cell trays fit in them as well. And I mentioned about watering earlier on. Now the reason I use these gravel trays is I will generally, for the plants at this stage certainly, we'll be watering from the bottom. And I've got one of these nifty little watering cans that just lives in the house. And what I do with this actually is every time it gets to about there, about half empty, I'll fill it up to the top and it'll sit on the windowsill in the house, and that'll slowly warm the temperature of the water up to sort of room temperature. Because what I don't want to do is this time of year, the water that comes out the tap is absolutely freezing. So you don't want to be giving your plants that love heat freezing cold water. So I just leave that full on the windowsill, and it'll just slowly sort of naturally warm up a little bit during the day, so it's not icy cold when you're putting it on your plant. So the water goes in the bottom there, and then we will just pop each of these plants in to the gravel tray there, and I think we're just about going to fit them all in. We'll just squish this one in here. Oh, there we go. So you want to make sure all your plant pots can sort of sit flat, so they're all resting in the water, so they can absorb that water up at the bottom, because obviously the roots are at the bottom of the plant, which is where they need the water. However, if we're going to feed them, and the last time we did one of these sort of grow along in the video about the chilies, I mentioned Chili Focus that I will be using as well. I've been using, but I'm also going to use this now as well. This is called CalMag, and you can get this off Amazon. I'll pop a little link down below, and what it does is it gives it calcium and magnesium feed into the plant as well. So I'll do it sort of week about. 1 week I'll give them a little bit of Chili Focus. Next week I'll give them a little bit of CalMag, and you only need the tiniest little bit of this in one of these watering cans to give them a feed. And if you've noticed, I've topped these up with vermiculite on the top, and that's to help sort of control the moisture that's going to be in the compost there, because when we feed, I'm going to do it from the top like that. So I'm going to be feeding from the top, watering from the bottom. So it's just water in the tray at the bottom. If I'm using even the CalMag feed or the Chili Focus, it's going to go in the top there. So we are just about done. So bear with me, we'll switch around and we'll get finished off. So there we have it, folks. 9 little chili plants, all moved on into their own little individual pots. Let me just move that a little bit closer there so you can have a good look at how they look now. And they are moved into those pots. They're about 3.5 inches wide, 3 inches deep. Fresh compost, vermiculite on the top, in the gravel tray with water in the bottom. Remember that new feed we're going to be using, the CalMag, so we'll be feeding from the top, week about, CalMag, Chili Focus, CalMag, Chili Focus. That bottle that I've got in there, it's a 1 litre bottle, got off Amazon. It was about a tenner, I think, when I bought it, but that will last me absolutely ages because you use it in the smallest quantities. I mean, absolutely tiny amounts, and I'll be using it on the tomatoes, the cucumbers, the sweet peppers, all sorts of stuff that's going to go in the polytunnel. That'll be getting some of that. To be fair, that bottle there, it'll probably last me for the whole season. Anyway, that's me just about done for today. Please think about liking and subscribing. Hit the red button down below, absolutely free. And watch out for the next part of the chili grow along video coming probably around about 3 to 4 weeks time, where we'll be looking to move them into the final pots, those big black ones that I showed you just before. And it might be nearing the end of the videos inside the shed in the potting area there, because I've got a bit of an idea about a greenhouse. So behind the camera, where you can't see now, there's a big old area of space, not really doing anything. So I've got half an idea to get a greenhouse and put it there, but we'll see how that comes along. But watch out for that coming in future videos. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, folks, and hopefully I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.